What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. Give you a quick overview of some of the data points, what really happened today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close 1.12% in the green. Pretty nice, strong close. So it did have a low of $11.82. So a lot of craziness did happen, and a lot of that did stem from this data right here. Not necessarily that, but rather this. So the unemployment rate came in at 4.1 versus the forecast of 4. Non-farm payroll came in at 151 versus the forecast of 150. So in reality, mixed data. I think the market did freak out a lot, and at the same time, a lot of that stemmed from this right here. So I just had this up. So China did have export and import data, complete polar opposite to what happened and came out from the States. So as a byproduct of this, Trump said early on in the morning that there will be potentially more tariffs coming in the foreseeable future. I think it was targeted towards China. Didn't actually state who, whether it's Canada, Mexico, or someone else, but I think it is stemming from this data. So imports from China was negative 8.4, and then the forecast was 3. So very good stuff, and for China, of course, not necessarily for the States. So I think that's what really caused all of this. And then Powell spoke, and he spoke some of the words that the market wanted to hear. So he calmed the market and honestly said that the data and the market is very, very good, strong, and potentially no rate cuts though, but the market didn't care. So yeah, it's a very interesting day. Nice little V right here. So as far as what shorts did though, they did return. So a nice change of events. They returned 157,000 shares. 12.31% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 132.67 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum is negative, but then again, I think we're kind of getting used to that at this stage. Today, no news from SoFi, no SEC filings, so it was kind of just piggybacking and at the mercy of the broader market. Looking at the options though, this is where it was kind of interesting. So 15 million in calls, 13 million in puts, 47% overall were optimistic in nature. And just looking at the overall dollar value, a little bit more than the last couple of trading days. So 27.7 today, fairly good put slash call ratio. And then 24 was yesterday. So at least it's improving. But one thing I do want to kind of bring to your attention is this. So I always like to bring up what big money is doing. I'm sure you guys are aware at this stage in the game, and technically based on the options that were done, big money was betting that SoFi was going to recover, and yeah, it did have a low today, but ultimately it did recover. There was 819,000 in premiums between 11.35 and 11.40. If we kind of look at this, similar to any other transaction, it was a multi-leg transaction, mixed bullish and bearish, but the majority was bearish. So 239,000 was bearish. It was a short-term one, so a 13-day expiry, March 21st, 2025, and it was a $10 put. So someone did buy a $10 put, meaning that they're anticipating possibly for it to be sub 10 within the next 2 weeks, and they ultimately the premium was around 16 cents per option, so they need it to be at least below, was it that $9 and change. So yeah, interesting kind of thing. So despite the optimism, there is big money kind of betting on it going down a little bit, but like I said, it was kind of a multi-leg transaction, a lot of different back and forth. So you had two bearish, so you had a $12 call that was sold, looks like a $12 call that was put, but that one was only 28,000 in total premiums. So again, take everything, all this with a grain of salt. You do your own due diligence, of course, but when it comes down to the call options that were purchased today, you see a consensus. Subtract that large big money there, that one transaction, there's a good consensus for it to be above 14 going into next week, and then the bears are anticipating for it to be kind of sub 12 for the most part. And with today being Friday and it closing at exactly $12.59, that does mean that the 12.50 and below, all those are in the money. So 2,000 at the 12.50 and then 2,000 at the 11.50. So nothing crazy whatsoever. So you won't see any spikes or anything come Monday. So it is what it is. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. Some abnormal buying, so maybe some of this is to cover the 3,000 in open interest for the call options, but 5.31 million, 1.1, 1.3, 1. But yeah, aside from that, kind of normal. There was this string of selling right here. That's what prompted this pullback right here. So yeah, pretty interesting day all in all. I didn't do anything. Unfortunately, I had meetings all day. I would have been glad to have bought more at like in the 11s. That would have been a dream if you ask me. I kind of disagree with that big transaction. I don't think sub 10 is going to be coming unless like World War III does start, but even Putin did come out earlier in the day, somewhere around kind of here, and stated that he's going to be negotiating peace and is open to peace. So I think there's going to be some pretty big developments coming down the pipeline. So I don't really see that like sub 10 being hit, but obviously I'm not considered big money. But with it at $12.59, trading between this S2 and this S3. So 1272 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So that'll be something that SoFi has to get over pretty much early on in the week to kind of set the trajectory for the rest of the week. Stay tuned for my video over this weekend, most likely Sunday, where I go over all the expectations and stuff. And then $11.31 will be that next strong support. No new analyst ratings, nothing like that. As far as on the actual chart, below the ALMA and above the 200-day moving average, that is sitting at $9.22. ALMA is at $12.85. So all in all, not bad of a day. I think pretty good for the week. SoFi, as far as the stochastic RSI, is considered very oversold. So a good piece of news coming out, whether it be specific to SoFi or on a larger macro standpoint, you could see a nice push higher. And honestly, I do feel in the coming little bit, because I kind of did opposite to that big transaction. I was actually bullish. So I actually feel like it will be hitting roughly around that $16-17 range in the foreseeable future. I think my option expiry date was October, I believe. That's what I selected. So I still see that there's still a lot more upside in the broader market, as well as just with SoFi. So let me know your general thoughts. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? And hopefully everyone has a good weekend. I think definitely for this week has been one of the most wild rides in a while for the market. So I think everyone does deserve a drink or eat, whatever the hell you want to do. I think enjoy life, that we are all alive, and everything else. So with all that, appreciate all of you watching. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Pop over to my Discord, completely free. A lot of good people, a lot of good chat about stocks, options, crypto, and everything else that floats your boat. So definitely pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.